Hello and welcome everybody to New Earth Consciousness. I'm here with Stephanie Gray. Her website is stephgrayart.com and creativenectarstudio.com. It's in the description here in the video. And yeah, so Stephanie is all about expressive arts as a path to self-discovery and healing. And so Stephanie, thank you so much for being here, and I'm really excited to dive into this topic.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I just have so much to say about the expressive arts. As an artist myself, um, yeah, it's unfortunate. I think how arts is always kind of last on the list. I think
Oh,
when it's really like it should be central to our being, really, as humans. I think people really do underestimate the power that it has to support us and nourish us. So, anyway, with that, yeah, tell us about yourself, your background, how long you've been doing this.
okay. And first of all, I have to say I completely agree with what you just said about how creativity gets sort of pushed to the side. And yeah, and I feel like it's going to come back online. It needs to, and it's going to be part of what moves us forward. But
Mhm.
anyway, yeah, so I I've been doing something called process arts for 30 years now. And in a nutshell, process art is basically just creating from the inside out. You're not told what to create, how to do it. The facilitator there at workshops and stuff will always be about just like, how are you doing in the moment? What have you said no to? That kind of thing. And so that was a whole different thing for me. I did not grow up as an artist. I did not grow up in the visual art world at all. Now I did do a little bit of drama and stuff in school and really enjoyed that and singing as well, but the visual art thing was brand new when my friend just sort of like dropped it in my lap like you should really go, and she was a visual artist. She's like you should check this out. And for some reason I said yes because
Mhm.
I normally say no to stuff, like new stuff, right? And so back then I was just floored that I said yes, but I went to this 3-day workshop and it changed the course of my life, obviously, because I've been doing it ever since. It is it is my way to sort of crack into my heart and my emotions and what I'm feeling. Um, Flash forward to like just a few years ago, realizing that I am neurodivergent. I am a highly sensitive person for sure. And without this process, I don't know if I would be able to figure out what's going on, as
Mhm.
readily, not only with my emotions, but just to be able to center into my heart space
Yeah.
and meditate with art. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that it was a big turning point for me. And 15 years ago, I started facilitating with my friend Jenny Hahn, and we've been doing it ever since with Creative Nectar Studio. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a little
Amazing.
backstory.
Yeah, amazing. So, yeah, so maybe explain a little bit about what process art is exactly, because I mean, it definitely isn't product oriented. It's not about trying to paint something beautiful that you're going to turn around and sell, although maybe there is possibility for that. I mean, why not? But yeah, share with us what it is exactly.
So it's basically meeting yourself at the page exactly where you are. And that could mean, how are you feeling in your body? Like if you can't get to your emotions, how are you feeling in your body? Or is an image popping in that needs to come out onto the page? Even if you know how to do it, just say yes to it. And it is very much like sort of children painting.
Mm.
One of the founders of process art, Michelle Cassou, I believe is her name. She got the idea by being around children in France and studying, just like watching them create
Mm-hmm.
and thinking, wow, how free is this? And can I bring this to adults? And that's what happened. I feel like it was the 60s or the 70s when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, ever since then, I mean, it's been growing. It has the name of process art, but also the name of meditative art sometimes or intuitive art,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it is, although it is very therapeutic in nature, because you're really working on what am I feeling right now and getting it out. There's nobody there that's going to judge or analyze it or anything else or tell you what you should do next. It's just only suggestions and only not even suggestions, just the
Mm-hmm.
facilitator will question, like, how does that feel in your body? You know, and
Mm-hmm.
then, and so that, like, it's different. It's going to show up differently for everyone. And not only that, every time you meet the page, it's going to be different because you're in a different space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's a gentle way to meet yourself and call yourself home over and over again with like really simple tools. I started process painting
Mm-hmm.
and it was glorious to walk into the studio because like it would be set up with tempera paints and you could smell the tempera just like being like in kindergarten class.
Mm-hmm.
And it just immediately relaxed you to see all the colors and smell the smells and then just these big white pieces of paper and that was it. Like it was simple and also terrifying if I'm honest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You said so many things there that I want to point out. Like, for one, I didn't realize that process art came out of just observing children. And when you said that, as a previous preschool teacher, I find it so interesting how, like, sometimes certain preschool teachers will, like, rather than leaving projects open-ended, it's like, we're going to make this, and you're going to take this and glue it to this, and this is, and you end up, like, as the teacher, basically doing it for the child because they don't have all the skills to do all the exact things to make the little puffy penguin or whatever it is, And which I never understood why teachers did that. And so when I work with kids, I'm like, I would just bring all the things. I'm like, here's some tub of wine corks, and here's some little random little toy figures of various kinds and sizes, and here's some popsicle sticks, and here's some, puffy paint, and here's some glitter, and here's some beads, and just give them a board, like, do whatever you want. You're going to glue whatever you want on this. And what they end up creating is so delightful and so fun. And so, like, I could never think of that, when we let them have the freedom. And so, um, yeah, it seems like the experience of what you're describing is like giving yourself permission to just give yourself the space to just explore the way a child would explore playing with materials.
Absolutely. And that is a big part of it. And that's a really big part of it now for me. There's still emoting that goes on. There's still like emotional things that I need to capture, when I for support or for anybody that works with us at Nectar. But it's also like really tapping into that joy space and that childlike wonder and really like in permission to get messy, to explore, to all the things, be in your intuition without realizing it, to get curious. And I just I really hope that that's where the creative the creative leanings and the creative classes or whatever in school go to just really let people have that expression, to the little kids to have their expression. We would all be so different if we were allowed that permission. And I think we look to outside sources to give us that permission. So like that's part of what I do is I literally hold space for people and give them permission
Yeah,
to play and get curious.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm curious, what do you observe when people come into the studio and participate in some of your classes? Like, what are, I know for a lot of people, art is scary, right? If, especially if they've told like, oh, you're no good at art, you can't draw, or, you know, that can be very intimidating. I'm curious what kind of responses or even just transformation that happens for people that come into your studio.
Yeah, well, and so when I would do the in-person classes, you could physically feel like the fear, a little bit of fear and a little bit of anxiety, um, for the new people. And then it was beautiful because the people that had been practicing already with us, they sort of grounded the space, and then we all sort of gave each other permission, and there is that we call them art scars. I think actually somebody else coined the
Mm,
term, but art scars around my, like my sibling was the creative one, not me. Or
mhm.
I painted something in kindergarten and was given another piece of paper and told to do it right, or or just cut down by my creative director in drama class or whatever. Like all of that, like it makes us pause, and it shuts down that little bit, that creative part in us, and that little child. And so of course it's going to be weird and scary when you show up, and especially when somebody's not going to tell you what to do, like you were saying. So you basically just sort of show up and just move with color.
Yeah.
And so I initially would see that, and then I would see this freedom of opening. And in the part of being a facilitator is that you'll ask, like, well, what are you feeling right now? And if somebody says fear, then you say, oh, where do you know where that fear lives in your body? And or and then scribble that out maybe with color. What color is it? And is it a big fear? Is it a small fear? Does it
Mhm.
want to make dots? Does it want to scribble? That kind of thing. But also, like, does your fear have a voice? And if so, what's it telling you? And not only that, whose voice is it? And getting really clear about that. And then like, well, would you like to paint that particular voice? Would you like to paint that fear? And just there's so many different ways you can meet the page. And I think we're always so, like, mm, a little bit baffled by something that is completely blank. Like,
Mm.
what do I do with this? Because we've been conditioned out of that creativity and thinking for ourselves. I mean, just we've given a lot of our power away in that regard. And I think we're waking up to the fact that that's happening. And just my own opinion, but I mean, I see the freedom that comes online when people continue to just get curious, and they know that there's no mistakes. Like, you can't do it wrong. There's no way you could do it wrong. It is just an expression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just an expression. And so when people are maybe frozen there, I mean, I think of writer's block, right?
hmm
You're frozen. How do you guide people? You just like force the paintbrush, like just stick it in the paint and just start doing whatever.
Well, yes, there's a couple of different things. There is that you can, if somebody is in the middle of a painting and they're feeling frozen, one of the things
Yeah.
my teacher would do would be to put up another piece of paper beside it. Like, okay,
Mm.
let's just start here. And then she would have us go, back and forth to the paint table, just color, 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 and just putting it up and
Mhm.
getting the energy moving. I could try that, in studio if I was working with somebody. Now there's that, but there's also the idea of, I feel frozen. Like, and where do you feel frozen? I think a lot of people would also say, like, I have somebody that I have worked with for years, and she's always about her mouth is frozen. Her mouth
Mhm.
feels frozen. And then so what color would that be? It's blue. And then so there's like blue mouths everywhere. And she
Mhm.
delights in just painting blue mouths.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways to get unstuck. I think sometimes when we're feeling stuck, we've said no to something because we think we don't know how to do it,
Yeah.
or that it's incorrect, or that it's taboo. And so part of the facilitation is just to ease people back in safety of what would it be like just to put one or two marks on the page.
Yeah. So do you find that it's when, like in the example you just said, this woman whose mouth feels, she says it feels frozen, and then she goes through the process of just painting these blue mouths. Does it shift that energy? Is there something, I mean, to me it seems like, painting the shadows that we carry. What was her experience with that, seeing that being expressed on the page?
It does move something because I think we're so busy, and this is just like life too, right? We're
Yeah.
so busy trying to not express that
Mhm.
hard place, or not be okay with the fact that you feel stuck, or whatever the case may be. But then once you sort of like give yourself permission to meet it, it does shift things. So we
Mhm.
always say at Nectar, like, just do the thing that you were delighting in for as long as you want, but then you'll learn to feel something shift, and it won't feel as delightful anymore, and something else will want to come through. And that's what I've observed with everyone,
Mhm.
myself included, is like
Yeah.
you give yourself permission to do that, to feel those things, or to get curious about what you want to put on the page, and be okay with how it shows up, and then something else can occur. So it's like
Mhm.
making space for that. So
Yeah.
yeah, her painting may have started out with lips, or a big lip, but
Mhm.
then ultimately a figure would come in,
Mhm.
and stars, and it's a magical process. It
Yeah,
really
it's
is,
like
because we're
transmuting.
magical.
Yeah, it's transmuting it. I
Yeah.
remember a friend of mine, she described this one art piece, and it wasn't process art, but it was definitely, she was at the time dealing with some fertility issues. Essentially, there was something going on with her womb, and anyway, she had done this painting, which involved, it looked like, I'm trying to remember what it was. I don't know if it was like shells or ferns or something. And she painted it. And then she realized later, after looking at it, that it was actually, it was an upside down image of of the uterus and the fallopian tubes, and, just female sexual reproductive organ. And it was after painting that her issues disappeared. So that it actually was healing for that part of her. And I was, when she shared that story, I was just so struck about how powerful that is. And yeah, art does something. I also have another story. A friend of mine, she commissioned me to, no, she didn't commission me. Actually, I had done a painting. I had made a painting of, it was a man and a woman embracing, expressive. You couldn't see their faces, it was just gestural. And she saw that painting and she wanted to buy it. She was single and had been single for a long, long time. And she was, I want that painting. I want to hang it up in my house. And it moved something to where she eventually found the man that she was going to marry. Um, we just, we really, we forget, or it somehow, I don't know if it's where it comes from, but to think that art is something that's frivolous, you know, a waste of time, or, oh, it's a nice hobby to have. Like, I don't think we're really giving, we're not really naming the power of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm biased, but because of the impact it's had in my life, and because of the power I still feel when
Hmm.
I'm at the page, and it's changed dramatically for me. I work in a small book now instead of, big paintings and things,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
the transformative property of art is incredible. the alchemy that can happen. And also, like you said, like there's frequency that's happening on the page as well, and that carries over to whoever's, looking at it, has it in their home, whatever. And I, I really do feel like our power has a lot to do with the creative spark that's in us. And that's why I get so excited talking about it, because I know that creativity is going to be part of what helps birth the new consciousness and the new planet. Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought that up because it's so apparent to me that we are not using our hands the way that maybe creator intended. We're on the computer. I mean, even kids now don't do cursive anymore. They're on computers typing out their projects, whatever. We're scrolling on screens, people's jobs sitting at computers, being on the phone. Like, we're not actually creating with our hands, whether it's in clay or plant, a garden, or it's like we so desperately need to stay in balance, like as technology continues to freaking explode, and it's developing so fast we can't even track it, that in order to stay connected to our humanity, like our hands, we got to use our hands, you gotta use your hands. Otherwise, you're really missing a head, heart, hand connection.
Yes, that you took the words right out of my mouth. That is exactly what I was just going to say. Like there is that connection of, moving from the head to the heart, using our hands that then are a direct connection to the heart. I think somebody even did a study on it. I
Mm,
don't have all the
wouldn't be
information.
surprised.
Yeah. So like there is something about using your hands, getting into that creative mode and then hooking up with the heart.
Yeah,
It, and that, in my opinion, I believe that is what being human is all about, and
yeah,
it's a lot of it has been lost. And I hope in my lifetime I see it come back online just in the most beautiful. That is my hope for humanity.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm sure probably the neuroscience shows that whenever you are creating art, you're creating new neural pathways. I mean, it's when you think of, using a computer, let's say, for expressing art or creating art. I'll just put it in quotes because when you're using AI or you're typing or whatever, it doesn't have the warmth, it doesn't have, you're actually not you're not really using your own brain. And so, right? And so the movements that the hand makes, whether it's handwriting or painting or any of that, even playing an instrument, interacting with sound, or dance, um, you're creating new neural pathways all the time. That's why they say, if you want to combat things like Alzheimer's or dementia, you know, keep moving the body, use your hands, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like to follow through with that, like once you're in that space, then it's like you wake up that sense of awe and wonder and curiosity. Even if you're in the garden planting, if you're
Mhm.
baking, if you're,
Mhm.
whatever you do to get creative, even singing in the shower, and I mean, don't even get me started because singing activates, the vagus nerve too. So like there's just so many benefits, so many reasons to be creative. And and yet there is something that in us that has been instilled from probably, I don't know, since we were like 7 or 8, I don't know, for me,
Mhm.
probably, that
Mhm.
says creativity is for the special people who are born with it. Creativity and art are for a chosen few. And you can't do art and have a job kind of thing. Like you have to let that kind of stuff go. It's just for kids or whatever.
Mhm.
And those are some of my own art blocks that I had. And it's really about shifting the mindset of the collective with
Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah.
And I think people just think creativity is art making, and it's so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in in America, maybe in Western culture in general, capitalism, consumerism, thinking that having things is what makes a good life, it's like we're really forgetting that it's actually about enjoying the journey, enjoying the journey of how life unfolds and that there is no destination. There's no final destination. And I mean, as I'm talking to you, I'm like, and I haven't been in my studio for weeks now, actually. And I'm like, oh, like the longing to want to go and just do it. Like I feel that. I think what a lot of people struggle with, Stephanie, is that there's just, I think people struggle finding the time, you know?
I do. I do. And that is why Creative Nectar is such a big deal for me, because the online community that we've created, like there are pockets of time within the month that are set up every single, like at the same time, every single
Mhm.
month to like put on your calendar and make it so you're like, okay, I can give myself this 30 minutes, this hour, this 2 hour block of time where I can do this. And then it's like permission giving, but also there's something that happens when you put it in your calendar that makes it feel part of your day. Like it's just, I don't know, it makes
Yeah,
it more acceptable, but you really do have to work as far as like just chiseling out a little bit of
yeah,
time.
yeah, you got to be intentional.
Yeah. And I mean, even 15 minutes,
Right. It
even
doesn't have
15
to be.
minutes.
Right. It doesn't have to be. I think that's where people maybe sometimes get overwhelmed. It's just like, oh, I got to get all the materials. Like you can just start with some chalk pastels and a piece of paper, like, or even a pencil, like, pencil and paper. Really, that's it. You don't need all the fancy supplies even.
Absolutely not. In fact, when we talk to new people who want to be part of the community, we encourage folks to start simple. Like, what did you create with when you were little? Now, if you're already creating and you have like a favorite thing, like I love paint pens, I probably would just show up with paint pens and a piece of paper,
Yeah.
but you literally can show, I've actually done things for different communities where you would have a pen and a piece of paper and you can still get it done. Like
Yeah.
and think about it like also doodling with coffee or, it just
Right.
keeping it so simple at first. And then you get to discover, well, what do I want to play with next instead
Yeah.
of just like being overwhelmed with
Yeah.
so much stuff.
Yeah, I think for some people, the struggle obviously too is like, oh, well, I don't have space in my house. I don't want to get paint on things. Like, again, I'm glad that you just, paint pens and a paper. Like, you can do that sitting at your couch, on your couch, right? Like, just that's it. It doesn't have to be complex. You don't need a separate studio. You don't need, a designate. I mean, of course it's like heaven to have a studio where you can just leave stuff out. You don't have to put it away. It's okay if paint spills on the floor or whatever. But if you don't have that, it doesn't have to be a block.
Absolutely. We always encourage folks to definitely like intentionally set a space, but it can literally be half of or less of your dining room table,
Yeah.
and there's a woman in our community who had surgery and was unable to get out of her bed really much at all. She showed up for every single thing that we had in her bed, and she had created a little space that she could just be there with some of her favorite materials
Yeah.
and create in bed. Like it,
Yeah.
it really is that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, I would say that if you're going through a difficult illness, art is so healing. I know for my mom, that's what she when she was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, she
Mm.
never considered herself to be creative. And I think a psychotherapist that she was seeing was encouraging her to get some paint and start doing something. And it's a wonderful outlet, especially when I think, yeah, when your physical body is in distress, um, to be able to have a way to express when you can't move around or you don't have the energy that you used to. I mean, of course, my mind goes to Frida Kahlo, right? Like she created
Oh,
all of her work from being in bed, and oh my gosh, it was such a difficult life. But man, what she created is legendary, and so yeah,
absolutely. And thank you for bringing that up because a big part of my healing journey has been physical healing. And I still to this day have things. And as a neurodivergent, like even going out in the world sometimes coming I have to come back and like reboot, and this is definitely a tool for me to reboot. But when I started out, like I had so much shadow work to do, and then I got through the shadow work, and then about 10 years later I started having physical symptoms of things and really working with that and realizing, no, I don't have to put it to the side or pretend like it doesn't exist. I can look at it, I can name it, I can see if
yeah,
it has something to tell me. And it always did. And
yeah.
I think my I knew and my paintings knew that I had a thyroid issue way before
Oh
way
yeah.
before I knew, because I was always painting my throat and always painting pain and always, and then I get diagnosed like 10 years later. I'm like, oh, wow. So
Yeah.
it really is a companion to help work through stuff like that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's interesting what can come through the subconscious. I think oftentimes when I remember going to this workshop many years ago. My mother wanted me to come along, and it was this workshop where we did some clay stuff, but we also initially we were doing collage, and
Mhm.
she just had all these magazines, and so we were cutting out images and putting it on the paper. And she didn't give us any more instruction other than that, like just start pasting things that you feel drawn to and just placing them on the page. And it was then afterwards that she said that you can look at that art and there's actually a map, right? There's a map, like an archetypal map, north, south, east, west, which correlates to the different aspects of the soul, sexuality and maybe inner child or the heart, all these. And I just remember I never looked at art in that way as far as um, seeing what's coming through the subconscious. Because initially, you're just like, I'm just putting this stuff down because I'm drawn to it. I don't know why. I don't know what it means necessarily. But then once you get it out, you do start to see, you do start to make those connections, right? Of what's playing out in the subconscious.
Oh my gosh, it's like one of the things I realized early on is like when you're really in the process and you're working it, it is like recording dreams. It's a visual dream journal. Sometimes it felt like a journey, like a medicine journey. I mean, there are just some things because you're encouraged to just allow whatever comes up, even if it doesn't make any sense, and to just let it be and realize that maybe it'll make sense in a day, in a year, in 10 years, but just to really allow
Yeah.
it to have its space and to be seen and heard. Like there's just such a
It is
cultivation.
mystical. It's so
It
honestly, it
is.
is mystical. I have to share one more story. There was years ago I did this painting, and it was like this. It was like a cell membrane. Inside the cell membrane were these two figures. They were like two female figures that were kind of conjoined or whatever. Kind of abstract, but they were, and it was kind of a dark painting, and and my mother kept that painting for years. She kept it. It was hanging in her house, and I can't remember when I painted it in my 20s. And then fast forward to a family constellation workshop where I was there, my mother was there. I got chosen as the person that was going to receive the constellation. And what came through the constellation was that my mother had had two miscarriages, unbeknownst to me,
Oh,
confirmed by my mother in the constellation. And I look at that painting now, I'm like, okay, somehow I knew, or I was picking up on something. Like, why would my mother decide to keep this painting, even though for herself, consciously, it's like, oh yeah, it was a couple miscarriages, no big deal. I'm like, no, that is not no big deal. That's a huge deal, you know? And so it blows me away what we tap into unknowingly even. And like exactly like you said, when you said, oh, sometimes it's not till years later you realize what that was all about. And it's really true. I mean, that was my experience. So
That
yeah.
is powerful. That is a powerful experience. And I'm glad you shared it here because other people will get to hear that. And
Yeah.
yes, because it that is how powerful it is. And that's why, like, I don't like to should people, but it's like we have to bring creativity back online. Like that is so powerful.
Yeah.
It's gonna move things incredibly into this new phase that we're
Yeah.
in or going
Yeah,
to.
and I love that you're bringing process art, bringing it in the form of as part of community, um, because I think oftentimes artists feel very isolated, you know, because it is just you and your paper or whatever, your canvas, and you're just spending maybe hours by yourself. But to do it in a community, I'm curious, like how does that, I mean, of course I can I've never participated in any kind of like group process art. So I'm curious how that changes the landscape when you do it in that context.
Well, yes. And, things really started to change during COVID and after COVID. But things changed a little bit, after we sold the brick and mortar for Creative Nectar Studio, and yeah, people would come in person, but then when we had to do it online, everyone thought this isn't going to translate.
Hmm.
This, and in some ways it is different because you don't have a facilitator standing right next to you at your painting. But first of all, you get to be in the comfort of your own home. You get to be with other people who are, in their hearts. And the facilitation happens just in questions to ask yourself, as you go
Hmm.
through, or a writing prompt. Or if you have questions to ask, you can put it in the chat. And so it is a little different, but we're always still amazed at the connection that happens, because after we'll start with some grounding and some meditation and a body scan and then a scribble to get you started.
Mm.
And then you can go off into whatever feels right. Um, but there is always a connectivity and sometimes even a theme that comes up. And that would happen in the studio all the time, but we never imagined that would happen online. And we
Mm.
see it over and over again. And there are people in the group, myself included, if I didn't have the community where we create, creativity would probably get pushed a little bit further back, right?
Yeah.
Or just having community to be a safe space to witness your art and to be heard if you have something going on. It's just incredible what happens. We could not have predicted how powerful it would be online.
Wow, amazing.
Different, yes, but still powerful.
Yeah, amazing. So tell us, what do you offer right now for people?
So, as far as what I offer, two seemingly different things, but maybe not so different. So, there is the community, Creative Nectar Studio. We have the community. But then I also offer something called frequency art, which we haven't even gotten into. But I
Oh,
have,
yeah.
yeah, like I will meet with somebody one on one, and then we'll talk about like what's going on. What would you like? What kind of art? If you could create a feeling in your home, what would you
Mm.
like to call in, right? And
Mhm.
maybe security, or maybe love and joy, like the more high vibrational situations, whatever. And then I talk to you and I start creating online. And then I say, okay, talk to you later. And then I continue working on a piece for people. And there's a little bit of channeling that happens, there's a little bit of process that happens. And Yeah, there's a whole thing to it. So that's
Wow,
new for me,
amazing.
and I'm
Okay,
offering that. But
beautiful.
as far as like process art, that is all through Nectar. Like I just love Nectar. I love our community. I love the co-founders, Jenny Han. It's just, it's my heart. It's my heart.
Beautiful. And so, and then, so your frequency art is on stephgrayart.com. Is that where they can learn about the frequency art?
Yes, it'll
Mhm.
take you to a link that talks a lot more about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, art is healing. Definitely holds frequency. Um, Beautiful. Stephanie, thank you so very much for being here and for your enthusiasm. And I mean, really, like, it takes some, I think it takes some courage to put in the time and the effort to keep the arts alive and to invite people to come into spaces to have those experiences. And so I just really appreciate and see your dedication um, to that. And so thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share a little bit. It is obviously my passion. So thank you
Yeah.
so much.
You're so welcome. And everyone, please like, share, and subscribe. Um, Share this video with those that you think need it. And again, be sure to check out Stephanie's websites. And thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Stephanie, and see you all again soon.